when a contractor performs a complete change-out of an electrical service, which includes the mast weatherhead, meter, and service panel for a single-family home, there is a requirement to provide a grounding rod. The National Electrical Code, or NEC, specifically addresses this situation. NEC 250.52 A1 states that for each service, a grounding electrode system must be installed at each building or structure. NEC 250.52 A2 goes on to specify what that grounding electrode system shall include. It details that it should include one or more of the following options: firstly, a metal underground water pipe; secondly, the metal frame of the building or structure; or thirdly, a grounding rod driven into the earth. The primary purpose of a grounding rod is to provide a low resistance path to the earth for electrical faults, lightning strikes, and other electrical hazards. This ensures that any excess electricity is safely discharged into the ground, thereby protecting both people and property from potential harm. There are a few exceptions to the grounding rod requirement. Firstly, if a metal underground water pipe is present and meets the requirements outlined in NEC 250.52 A1 and 250.52 A2, a grounding rod might not be necessary. Secondly, if the metal frame of the building or structure is used as the grounding electrode system and it also meets the requirements of NEC 250.52 A1 and 250.52 A2, then a grounding rod may not be required. Thirdly, if a different type of grounding electrode system is implemented, such as a ground ring or a UFO ground, and it meets all the stipulations of NEC 250.52 A1 and 250.52 A2, then a grounding rod might be deemed unnecessary. However, even with these exceptions, a grounding rod is often the most common and cost-effective method for providing a grounding electrode system for a single-family home. The reason is its simplicity and reliability in establishing a solid connection to the earth. When installing a grounding rod, it's essential to follow specific guidelines to ensure its effectiveness and compliance with the NEC. The rod should be driven into the ground to a minimum depth, typically 8 feet or 2.4 meters. The specific requirements for the depth and placement of the grounding rod are detailed in the NEC and should be carefully followed to ensure proper grounding. Additionally, the grounding rod should be made of a suitable material, such as copper or copper-clad steel, to provide a good electrical connection and resist corrosion. The size of the grounding conductor, which connects the grounding rod to the service panel, must also be appropriately sized based on the size of the service entrance conductors, as specified in the NEC. It's important to note that the grounding rod is just one component of the overall grounding system. The grounding system also includes the grounding electrode conductor, which connects the service panel to the grounding rod, and the equipment grounding conductors, which connect the metallic parts of electrical equipment to the grounding system. All of these components work together to provide a safe and effective grounding path for electrical faults. When a contractor performs a complete change-out of an electrical service, they are responsible for ensuring that the entire grounding system is installed correctly and meets all applicable code requirements. This includes verifying that the grounding rod is properly installed, the grounding conductor is correctly sized and connected, and all other components of the grounding system are compliant. Failure to properly install the grounding system can result in serious electrical hazards, including electric shock, fire, and equipment damage. Therefore, it's crucial to hire a qualified and licensed electrician to perform any electrical work, including service changes and grounding system installations. A qualified electrician will have the knowledge and experience necessary to ensure that the work is done safely and in compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. In addition to the NEC requirements, local codes and regulations may also apply to grounding system installations. It's important to check with the local building department or electrical inspector to determine if there are any specific requirements that must be followed in your area. Grounding is a critical aspect of electrical safety, and it's essential to understand the requirements for grounding electrode systems, including grounding rods. By following the NEC and local codes, and by hiring a qualified electrician, you can ensure that your electrical system is properly grounded and that you and your property are protected from electrical hazards. Let's delve further into the specific sections of the NEC that pertain to grounding electrode systems and grounding rods. NEC 250.50 covers the grounding electrode system and provides general requirements for grounding electrodes. It specifies that all grounding electrodes that are present at each building or structure served must be bonded together to form the grounding electrode system. This bonding ensures that all grounding electrodes are at the same potential, which helps to minimize the risk of voltage differences in electrical shock. NEC 250.52, as previously mentioned, covers grounding electrodes and specifies the types of grounding electrodes that are permitted by the code. These include metal underground water pipes, metal frames of buildings or structures, grounding rods, ground rings, and other types of grounding electrodes. The code also provides specific requirements for the installation of each type of grounding electrode. For example, NEC 250.53 provides requirements for the installation of grounding electrodes, including grounding rods. It specifies the minimum depth to which a grounding rod must be driven, the spacing between multiple grounding rods, and the methods for connecting the grounding conductor to the grounding rod. The NEC also addresses the sizing of the grounding electrode conductor, which is the conductor that connects the grounding electrode to the service equipment. NEC 250.66 provides requirements for the sizing of the grounding electrode conductor, and it specifies that the size of the conductor must be based on the size of the service entrance conductors. In addition to the requirements for grounding electrodes and grounding electrode conductors, the NEC also includes requirements for equipment grounding conductors. Equipment grounding conductors are used to connect the non-current carrying metal parts of electrical equipment to the grounding system. This provides a low impedance path for fault current to flow back to the source, which helps to trip the overcurrent protection device and to energize the circuit in the event of a fault. NEC 250.118 specifies the types of conductors that are permitted to be used as equipment grounding conductors, and NEC 250.122 provides requirements for the sizing of equipment grounding conductors. It's important to note that the NEC is a comprehensive code that covers all aspects of electrical installations, including grounding. It's essential for electricians and contractors to be familiar with the NEC and to follow its requirements to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical systems. The NEC is updated every 3 years, so it's important to stay current with the latest edition of the code. In summary, when a contractor performs a complete change-out of an electrical service for a single-family home, they are generally required to provide a grounding rod as part of the grounding electrode system. The grounding rod provides a low resistance path to the earth for electrical faults, lightning strikes, and other electrical hazards. While there are some exceptions to this requirement, a grounding rod is often the most common and cost-effective method of providing a grounding electrode system. The installation of the grounding rod must comply with the requirements of the NEC and any applicable local codes or regulations. It's essential to hire a qualified and licensed electrician to perform any electrical work, including service changes and grounding system installations, to ensure that the work is done safely and in compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. By understanding the requirements for grounding electrode systems and by following the NEC, you can help to ensure the safety and reliability of your electrical system. One aspect that may be of interest to people is the method for testing a grounding electrode system after it has been installed. There are several methods that can be used to test the effectiveness of a grounding electrode system. Firstly, a simple resistance test can be performed using a ground resistance meter. This meter measures the resistance between the grounding electrode and a remote reference point. The lower the resistance, the better the grounding system. The NEC recommends that the resistance of the grounding electrode system should not exceed 25 ohms. Secondly, another method of testing is the 3-point fall-off potential test. This test involves driving 2 auxiliary ground rods into the earth at a specified distance from the grounding electrode being tested. A ground resistance meter is then used to measure the resistance between the grounding electrode and each of the auxiliary ground rods. The readings are then used to calculate the resistance of the grounding electrode system. Thirdly, a clamp-on ground resistance meter can also be used. This type of meter clamps around the grounding electrode conductor and measures the current flowing through the conductor. The meter then calculates the resistance of the grounding electrode system based on the measured current. In addition to these tests, a visual inspection of the grounding electrode system should also be performed to ensure that all connections are tight and that there are no signs of corrosion or damage. It's important to note that testing a grounding electrode system should be performed by a qualified electrician or electrical contractor. They will have the knowledge and experience necessary to properly perform the tests and interpret the results. Also, remember to adhere to safety precautions when dealing with electrical systems. Always to energize the circuit before performing any tests or inspections. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician to perform the work for you. In conclusion, providing a grounding rod is generally required when a contractor does a complete change out of an electrical service to a single-family home, as mandated by NEC 250.52. 8.1. Grounding rods ensure a safe, low-resistance path for electrical faults and lightning strikes. Although exceptions exist under NEC 250.52. A2, such as using a metal underground water pipe or building frame, grounding rods are often the most practical solution. Installation must comply with NEC standards, including driving the rod to the correct depth and using appropriate materials. It is very important to hire qualified electricians for such tasks to ensure safety and code compliance. Regular testing by professionals further guarantees the grounding system's effectiveness, protecting against electrical hazards.